Coming up on this episode, I talk about my idea of work ethic and how I think work ethic translates to far more than just your career or your 9 to 5. It translates to life and what you want to achieve in your life. So let's get into it. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Respected Chaser podcast, and I'm your host, John. On this episode, I want to talk about work ethic. And when I say work ethic, I don't just mean your ability to go in and do your 9 to 5. Because there's far more to it than that. But to make things simple, the angle that I'm going to talk about it from is literally your ability to perform any given task. So if you set yourself out to do something and you follow through and you do it, sounds like a good work ethic to me. If you say you're going to do something and you don't follow through, that sounds like a bad work ethic. Fairly simple concept. So there's lots of ways, especially these days, that you can work or get jobs done or get things done in any given sense. So if you're looking at your work ethic towards your career, you might have the ability to show up every day, please everybody and do everything that you're meant to do in your job. But then your work ethic, when it comes to your home life, you might not want to fix up the house, fix up the car, or fix up the relationship, or play with the kids, go see your friends, put effort into you, whatever it is. Like, that work ethic, it's multifaceted. It's not just one direction. It's not just about how well you can perform at your job. Your work ethic towards yourself and towards your life is going to be far more diverse than that. There's going to be so many aspects of yourself that need work on. And if you're overdoing your work ethic in one aspect of life, say you're over focusing on your career, you're staying late every day and this and everything else, and fair play, by all means, sometimes that's called for. But it often causes that pull to come from somewhere else, that focus to come from somewhere else. At least I notice it does in my life. So any time I over-focus on any one thing, I can see that another barrel starts to get empty. So always knowing that it's literally a game of spinning plates when it comes to this. When it comes to a lot of life, it's always about shifting that perspective and shifting where you're looking at things from overall. Because if you only look down one lens, you'll only see one outcome. But life's more complex than that. So taking the time to see, okay, cool, my work ethic is good here, how is it here? And again, running that systems check, it's just another aspect of ourselves. Like, you might not be able to sit at a computer all day, but you might be very good at working with your hands. Does that mean if you're sitting in an office job and struggling that you have a bad work ethic? No, you're just in the wrong place. So is it going to benefit you to stay in that place, or is it going to benefit you to take the moves to realign where you are? It might be the other way around. You might be working with your hands and you want to be sitting in an office crunching numbers or working on social media or whatever else it is. There's so many aspects to life that going through and constantly running a systems check is always going to be of benefit to you. Like, the work that I've done over the years has heavily changed in terms of my career and my personal life. My thoughts and ideas of what I want to do and want to achieve has changed over the years. But one thing that hasn't changed too much is my willingness to pursue them by any means. So I guess my core work ethic in that sense, I think, is pretty good. But again, it evolves. It might not change drastically over time, but it definitely peaks and troughs. It's always there, but nothing is impenetrable, nothing's bulletproof. So when it comes to motivation in terms of various forms of work, whatever it is, even when it is putting in work on myself, going to the gym, relaxing and taking some me time and what, blah, 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 whatever it is, that often gets put on the back burner because I'm focusing on getting some work done. But that neglect creates other problems. So the more I've become aware of which plates are starting to wobble and when, the better I've felt around navigating life. I was going to say the better I've got, but it's still in progress of testing. But the truth is, like, it's always going to be in testing. There's always going to be ups and downs and everything else, but am I always going to be willing to do what I need to do? Yeah. And that's never going to change. I might leave it late sometimes, or I might put myself up against the wall a bit, but I always get it done. And I suppose some of that's complacency and other elements of my personality and myself, but that core work ethic, I think, is always there. And I think that's what matters. So if you can start to look at that, look at yourself over a long time, what is your core work ethic? No matter what the task is, are you willing to get it done? Whether it be in your job, in your personal life, helping a friend, helping a family member, whatever it is, are you willing to get it done? Because when all is said and done, that really is the truth of work ethic, or the core of work ethic, is are you willing to do what it takes to get it done? Yes or no? If you are willing to take it, to do what it takes, pretty good work ethic. If you're not, pretty bad work ethic. Then to kind of play devil's advocate on that, you've then got, is it worth you doing? That's a whole different ball game and a whole other question of you, your value and your time, and what you want to be doing with your time. So it might be your passion to work with your hands, but it might not work logistically when it comes to finances or life or whatever else. So then it might just have to stay as a hobby for a while. Does that mean that you neglect things, or you put yourself in a position where you don't ever work with your hands? No, you find the time for it elsewhere. Like, I think that's a kind of another caveat to having a willingness to get it done, is to find a way to get it done with minimal impact. Because, like I just said about myself, sometimes I leave things to last minute and it causes a lot more impact than it would have otherwise. I'm not perfect. None of us are. But I always get it done. But there's that complacency. Because I know I'll get it done, I look to leave it to last minute sometimes. I'll procrastinate or whatever else. But it's a constant ebb and flow, much with everything else. But I think the more I've become aware of it, and the more I am aware of it, the more I'm slowly shaping it over time. Because when you're unaware that you can kind of tweak parts of your personality and parts of yourself fairly easy over time, it's interesting to work on, and it's interesting to see the different aspects of yourself that tick and how they tick. And for me, work ethic is one of those ones where I did have a very fixed idea of what it was. I did put in that box of work, your 9 to 5, your job, whatever it is, that's what your work ethic is. How willing are you to do your job? But the more I thought about it and the more I experienced through life, the more I realized work ethic applies to all of life, not just your job. So what type of work are you willing to do and why? Like that willingness, that reason why is going to be your driving force a lot of the time. So if you don't know why you're doing something, eventually it's going to become hard to do it. For a lot of us, it's a fixed idea of why we do things. Why do we do it? Because that's what we've been told to do or taught to do or seen other people doing. So we follow suit. But that doesn't mean it's the right way. Stop and ask yourself, what's your right way? Is your work ethic a 9 to 5 and focusing on that type of career? Or is your idea of a good work ethic being an entrepreneur and building something up there? Or is your work ethic being a social media influencer, a singer, a songwriter, a dancer, a writer? Whatever it is. What are you willing to put in that work for? Where do you see your value paying off? Because at the end of the day, if you don't see the value in your time being there, it's going to be a lot harder to do it. So sometimes having a poor work ethic is simply because you don't want to be doing the job. And that's always going to be part in life. There's always parts of life that we'd rather not want to participate in. But those are the parts of life where we tend to learn the most. Anyway, I'll wrap the episode up there. The seed for this episode is going to be, ask yourself, what plates have you been neglecting? What have you been over-focusing on, and what can you refocus on and kind of improve for your own sake? At the end of the day, it's only ever going to be you that puts in the work. So don't neglect the plates and keep them all spinning, because you can do it all. You just have to be aware of it and stop getting distracted. All the best, and I'll catch you in the next one.